And I'm back with you. Well, that was rather quick, changing from one program to another. Boy, these days can get hectic sometimes. Greg, let me apologize for the abrupt break, but I looked at my clock and I realized I was minutes over time. And you must understand when I say we're 6 minutes over time, and it is a paid. Uh, yes, let me play this clip in the meantime and give myself a little time to get things together.
17-year-old Pele was mocked and laughed at by the crowd, but his eyes were determined. Right after kickoff, he made a steal. Then came a dazzling dribble. He didn't hesitate anymore. Looks like the defense didn't exist. Charged straight into the opponent's box. Faced with pressure, Pele unleashed a powerful volley. The crowd erupted. Fans in the stands couldn't believe it. This small kid had just scored. Then Pele was the center of attention. Effortless dribbles, flashy footwork, all the way to the lighthouse by the lake. And it worked. Everyone perked up, weaved through the noisy kitchen, into the hotel lobby, and a guest who didn't know a thing about soccer were stunned. The coach watched it all and was deeply moved. He told the team from now on there would be no tactics. Just play your hearts out and be yourselves. World Cup final, Brazil versus host nation Sweden. Every Brazilian gathered around their TVs hoping their heroes could pull off a miracle. But things got off to a rough start. Due to the previous outstanding performance, Pele became Sweden's marked man. Only 4 minutes after the opening was scored a goal by the Swedish team. The Swedish fans began to revel and they already celebrating what felt like a sure win. But then, Pele looked up and saw a small section of Brazilian fans in the crowd. Their faces were full of helplessness. That lit a fire in Pele's body. If you're not strong, no one respects you. So Pele started showing the world what Jogo Bonito really meant. Dribbling past defenders like they didn't exist, the crowd got to their feet. Then came a beautiful 1-2 with a teammate, and the ball found the net. Brazilian fans roared back to life. With Pele leading the charge, the whole team woke up. Nothing could stop them now. The stadium felt like home. People at the scene were shocked. Then came the third goal, and the fourth. Tears welled up in every Brazilian eye. Even the proud Europeans in the crowd were completely convinced. They stood up and applauded. And finally, with a header from Pele, Brazil crushed the Nordic giants. At just 17, Pele led Brazil to their very first World Cup title. And just like that, the era of the king of football began. He showed the world that success has nothing to do with age. Not just talent, but an unshakable will to win. A fire that refuses to bow to the world.
Yeah. Yes, let me. Boy, I tell you, it's hectic up in here, but fortunately, I have these clips that I can rush to. As we know, we're into sports, various kind of sports, and soccer is one of those. As a matter of fact, soccer is the number one sport around the world. Almost every nation is involved in soccer to a certain extent. And I just played that clip with Pele, the one and only, and the greatest footballer to ever walk on planet Earth. I don't care what you say about he and this and that and that. You go back and look at the archives, check out what the man achieved, and tell me who. Yeah, you can have flashy people come up and they can do a little, but under that kind of pressure, and at his age, the man is just awesome. You understand? So, yeah, I don't care whose name you're going. I mean, I remember, what was it, Ronaldo or whoever? Everybody wants to wear number 8, and then you see them and you say, oh, boy, number 8 is number great, and he's the best. No, there's only one number 8. There was only and will only always be only one great number 8. Anyone who tries to copy it, pick up the number and run with it, all they are a mere trifling camouflage, right? Okay, so I just had to get that off my chest. Pele, the greatest footballer to ever walk the face of the earth. A good segue, I think, okay? So let me take a deep breath. Okay, get myself get myself together and get ready to continue. So I think at half past the hour, we should have someone or a bit of an interview for 15 minutes or thereabout. So I'm going to be anticipating that. But until then, let me see if I can find another clip. Yeah, let me play this clip.
He was rich, black and dangerous because he dared to invest in freedom. Born on July 4th, 1892 in Demopolis, Alabama, A.G. Gaston was the grandson of the enslaved. With only a 10th grade education, he built a black business empire during Jim Crow, starting with burial insurance for miners. By the 1950s, Gaston owned a bank, a business school, and the A.G. Gaston Motel in Birmingham. That motel became headquarters for the 1963 Birmingham campaign. He housed Dr. King, paid his bail, and financed the movement, quietly. White supremacists bombed his motel. Activists questioned his methods. But Gaston believed power came from building, not begging. "I never went into anything with the idea of making money," he said. "I thought of doing something, and it would come up and make money." He died in 1996, worth over $130 million. He showed us you don't need permission to build power, just purpose, discipline, and vision. This journey is just beginning. This is our history.
Okay, so there you had another clip that showed vision and purpose. Well, I'm trying to bide time right down until when I have my coworker here and he's working on his end. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to get to the point where we have that bit of an interview and get it over with, and then we can get back into voices as we normally know voices to be. So let me go to the phone lines. Hello, caller.
Yes, Quint, yes. I'm very. You do not have to apologize for anything, Quint. It was my fault. It was my bad. I should have really hung up when you said you such an amount of time overtime.
Yeah,
So
well,
it was my fault, Quint.
well, thanks for your understanding there. Yeah.
Yes, you were correct in abruptly ending it. Yes, you were correct.
Okay.
What I would like to say, Quint, is that the name of this study, right?
Yeah.
Is degradation of bisphenol A by Bacillus humulus from kimchi, a traditional fermented food. That's the name of the scientific study that I was speaking about.
Yes.
Yes. Not to prolong that though. Not to prolong that.
Well,
Also,
before you move on from that, what I'm saying is, what that article should say is, you can eat kimchi and it can be a cure for residue plastic and that kind of stuff. But I am saying they cannot and should not tell you that if you eat an exact amount of kimchi, it will be a cure. That is what I'm saying.
okay. Well, like I said, if anybody go and read that study. That's all I would tell people. Go and read it and make up your mind on it.
Okay.
That's all I would say. Yeah. Also, it is my belief that those COVID vaccines, so-called vaccines, I believe with the government pressuring us to take them or / forcing us to take them, whichever word people prefer to use, I believe that they increase the general death rate, and I believe up to this very moment, those COVID vaccines have a higher death to
adverse effect. Yes. I
Yes.
would
An
agree.
adverse effect too.
I would agree with you on that. I think that was
Yes.
one of the main blunders, and I hope that governments learn something from that. But I'm not too enthused because
Government.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not too enthused because it does not seem as if the governments learn. It seems as if though, as long as it's something coming from external, they just take it up and run with it. I am saying to governments, especially us here in the Caribbean, who are people of African descent, whenever Europeans, especially, and let me put the emphasis on that again, whenever Europeans come and tell us that we should do something as a black people, let us always be skeptical, and let us always use a preponderance. Let us always use a large amount of caution. Let's not just take up
Amen.
anything and run with it, because up to this day, they are still doing experiments with us as a people, and we are unaware of it until someone blows the whistle. We hear about the
True.
Tuskegee, we hear
True.
about this and that. They are still doing experiments on us as a people. So
True.
our governments
True.
need to be very careful. Yeah.
True. 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 Also, I got advice for the present government, and I've said it already, and I'm going to say it again for the umpteenth time. To the present government and to all politicians by extension, not just the present government, but to all politicians by extension. It does not matter what you say, what you do. You could say you're going to build the latest hospital, build all the roads, schools, you name them. You name them. Doesn't matter how much treaties, how much agreements you made, arrangement you made with nations, African nations, European nations, it does not matter. If at the same time people are catching hells, feeding themselves, getting jobs and that sort of stuff. Okay? Once what if people are catching hell to feed themselves, getting jobs, providing for their dependents and that sort of stuff, all these things that you're saying you're doing and you're bringing home and you accomplish and will do and will, you will still lose support from the people, and it will only be harder for you to win future elections and easier for you to lose them. Once the basics are not in place, and because of such, people are catching hell to feed themselves, clothe themselves, and their dependents, and finding jobs. That's the main thing. Okay, the other things are needed too. Don't get me wrong. The other things are needed too. But as they used to say during Bill Clinton time, it is the economy, stupid. It is the economy. People catching heads and so, doesn't matter what you say you're doing, people going to still people are not going to support, you're going to lose support.
I agree.
Lastly,
I agree. I agree
Yes.
because, and that is something I've spoken to. You came with initiatives and you said you were going to do certain things. People are looking forward to you doing those things. When
they
people
must feel it in the pocket.
yeah, when people see you jumping off on all kind of other things that you did not promise, they're going to have that problem. But then again, it comes
Yes.
back to, as Greg was saying, it always comes down to the bottom line, bread and butter issues of being
Yes.
able to put food on your table, right?
Yes.
So all of these things about hospitals and blah, 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 no. People want money in their pockets so they can go out and buy food and pay their rent and different other utilities. Those
Yeah.
are the key factors. And if you build all the hospitals and all the schools and people are fighting with those things, they're not going to support you. So I agree with you
Exactly.
on that, Greg.
As I said during Bill Clinton time, it is the economy, stupid. That's what they said, and he won the election because
Yeah,
he
but
realized, yes, he come down to these
Yeah,
basic things.
but I don't think Bill Clinton is a good example to use
I
because
understand, but it is the mantra
Because
that got to me
my
because people
part-
thinking,
yeah, they always pulling the wool over our eyes. You know, my
I
partner
agree
here,
with you, no, Prince.
we were having
Yeah, I
that
agree with
discussion
you.
because Clinton undermined his own people, outsource all the jobs and that kind of stuff so they can get cheaper labor. So they're telling you one thing and then they're stabbing you in the back, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
though.
it was the mantra that got to me because people were
Yes,
saying, man,
yes.
you said, but life's so hard. So maybe Clinton mantra might work, but not knowing that he was going to betray them.
Yes, yeah.
But lastly, Trump blew up a second Venezuelan boat.
Yeah, well.
Terrible and bad, evil, wicked thing. And the Trinidadian government, she's still so supporting Trump. Okay, thank you, Quinn.
Yeah, okay. So you're gonna let me know when you're ready, and so we can let me take that break right about now.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
And a pleasant good day. Welcome back. And we should be having a bit of an interview. We should be having a bit of an interview with individual who goes by the name of Chi Sian. Hello? Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Did I get the name right?
It's Trisha Ann. Yes, it
Trisha.
is.
Trisha Ann.
Yes,
Okay. Good morning to you, and how are you today?
I am good.
And
Thank you. What about you?
I'm fine. I'm fine, and I think I'm feeling even better hearing a beautiful female voice on the other end. So I'm feeling good. So let me see now. So, to what do we credit your being here, interacting with us on this good day?
Okay, so like you said, my name is Trisha Ann Henry, and I am from UTC Fund Management Services and UTC or UTC Global Balance Fund Limited. And this is the first retail mutual fund to be launched in the OECS. And GBFL's aim is to provide solutions and the OECS with a medium to long term investment option
Yes.
to aid in achieving their financial goals. Investing in GBFL provides the opportunity for many petitions to own a stake in international assets that they did not previously have access to. So UTC Global Balance Fund Limited is a subsidiary of Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, and that is the largest mutual fund provider in the English-speaking Caribbean, with eight mutual funds, including GBFL and US 3.7 billion in funds under management, or EC $10 billion. UTC's mandate, like GBFL, is to promote financial literacy, investing, and aiding to building of intergenerational wealth. So with GBFL, individuals can open an account with as little as 100 US or EC 272 to start the investment journey.
Okay, I see here. Well, I understand Global Balance Fund Limited. I understand that initiative, but break down for me, what does UTC mean?
UTC means Unit Trust Corporation.
Okay, because I wanted to. And could you tell me what is that really, just in a nutshell?
Mhm. So, what it is, it's a mutual fund, and a mutual fund is a financial vehicle that pools the funds of a number of individuals and institutions. And these funds are invested in securities, investment securities such as bonds, stocks, and money market instruments. So, the pooling of the resources in a mutual fund, it creates scale that in turn provides access to a wide range of assets that may not be accessible to most, and these assets include money market instruments, debt, equity, fixed income. So it makes it a balanced fund because we invest in equity and bonds.
Okay. What are the benefits of investing in in this kind of a mutual fund?
So investing in the mutual fund are ideal for most investors. It features a number of benefits, including professional management, affordability, steady returns over the medium to long term, and liquidity. The mutual funds are an ideal investment for medium to long term financial goals. These include property acquisition and development, retirement, education, and wealth building.
And what kind of assets does the GBFL invest in? What kind of investments are you
So,
venturing into?
okay. GBFL is a balance fund, which means we invest in a combination of stocks, bonds, and short-term money market instruments. Stocks includes shares of this of some of the most profitable companies in the world, like Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, just to name a few. And the bonds or fixed income components invest in instruments like US securities, corporate bonds, fixed income ETFs, and some regional bonds. So these instruments, they all contribute to the fund's value in different ways, with the equity component providing steady growth with the increase in value in the stocks, and the fixed income component providing steady income.
I realized that you launched in St. Kitts and Nevis on July the 10th, 2025, which is just recent.
Yes, it is.
Since you've done that, are you enthused? What are your feelings? How have been the interaction so far?
The interaction has been pretty well. It's been very good, and we will be back in St. Kitts from the 24th to the 28th. We are platinum sponsors of the OECS Credit Union Summit being held in St. Kitts, and credit unions play a pivotal role in the lives of their members and in the development of our economies. So we are indeed excited to be part of the summit once again. While in St. Kitts, we will continue to work with persons in St. Kitts. So we started in July to enhance financial literacy within the community with a public seminar on personal financing and investing in UTC GBFL. And this will be done on September 23rd at the conference room of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Additionally, we will visit two secondary schools to deliver financial literacy sessions aimed at empowering students to understand the significance of saving, investing, and taking control of their financial future. Persons can register to the seminar at utcgvfl.com, but it is an open event. So if you aren't able to register, you could come in at the chamber on the 23rd. So that's next Tuesday.
Okay. How has the fund itself been performing so far?
So last year, the past performance is not a predictor of the future. The UTC GBFL returned 12.76% to its investors. And that means that if you had invested $100 in January of last year, your investment would have grown to $112.76 by the start of this year. So this year, while market conditions have been volatile, the fund's performance remains steady, and our fund management team is actively implementing strategies to navigate these challenges and seek opportunities for growth.
How do investors keep track of the value of their investments?
Okay, so the value of shares of a mutual fund is measured by its net asset value, which in short we call the NAV. And what the NAV is the value of the fund's assets minus any liabilities. And the NAV for GBFL is valued every day and posted on our website for investors to view. So the NAV will basically tell you the value of your investment on a particular day that you are watching the NAV.
And is this fund regulated? And what are some of the other projections in place for investors? That's a two-part question.
Yes. So yes, GBFL is licensed and regulated by the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the ECSRC, which is located right in Boston, St. Kitts. And this is the only regulator of investment securities in the OECS. So in addition to the oversight provided by the ECSRC, the legislation also requires that all assets be held with an independent custodian, So the independent custodian is the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository, the ECCSD, located in St. Kitts again, and an independent registrar maintain a register of the shareholders, also the ECCSD.
Why is it important for individuals to invest in this type of initiative?
Okay, so it's important to understand first the difference between saving and investing. And saving is the process of putting money aside for some future use, while investing involves placing money into an asset or a venture that will not only earn income but also increase in value. And individuals in the OECS have a rich history of being good savers. And that is evident in the value of savings in our banks, which is EC 25 billion. But most of us do not invest either due to lack of knowledge or the the details of investment products. So in the US, 2 out of 5 people are invest in financial markets, while only 1 out of 25 are invested in the OECS. So the compound effect of the returns of investments coupled with the growth in value while will assist in achieving financial goals and is a better way to preserve wealth than simply saving.
Well, Trisha Ann, it has been an informative interaction. I think you've gone over the important factors and aspects that people would want to know if they are going to take part or participate in this kind of initiative. It has been a pleasure having you here. Is there any words you want to say as we conclude to sum up what you've said so far?
Thank you for having me. Just wants the persons of St. Kitts to know that we will be having a live seminar on September 20. So we'll be in St. Kitts from September 24th to the 28th. However, we have a live seminar on the 23rd. Sorry. So we will be in St. Kitts from the 22nd to the 28th, but the seminar will be on September 23rd at the conference room of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And
Oh,
you could register on our website, utcgbfl.com, or you could just show up in person.
okay. Well, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for all that information. And we know we are in that point of our lives as human beings where people are thinking of good initiatives to invest in and put their monies where it can reap benefits and that kind of stuff. So thank you for that bit of information, and we'll be looking forward to when you arrive back in the Federation so that you can continue your good work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Too often, customers are counted but not valued, like mere numbers, statistics, transactions. But at Flow, we're rewriting the rules and prioritizing you, our valued customers, who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim your $600 gift card when you add internet to your current postpaid plan. Because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
Randstad good food people always there to serve you. Randstad good food people locations right near you. Randstad good food people in-store specials for you. Randstad good food people. When you need better service, Rand is always here. If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
And I'm back. The time is 10:43, and you can say that we are back into voices proper, or the usual voices. So if there's anything you want to ventilate, anything you want to discuss, anything you want to bring to the fore, feel free to do so. And the numbers you can call to interact and indulge are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989. In the UK, 033-344-0065. In the US of A, 718-285-6984. In Canada, 305-921-4619. Okay, so those are the numbers you can call to interact. And let me make sure that I have my ads lined up. It has been a hectic day, most definitely so. So let me see now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, well, let me go to the phone lines while I try to, hello caller. Try to get
Quint.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here again. Now, Quint, this morning I shared something with you, and I want to continue on a different plate where I want to share with you, Quint. And I think I've touched on it before, but I just want to reiterate it because our people have to understand the power of the female deity, Quint, the gateway through life.
Yeah.
Follow me, Quint. Darkness, the Spirit of God descend upon the face of the deep according to what they wrote in the book. Darkness is the platform of creation, Quint. I want our female to pontificate on this because they are a portal. The female is a portal. The womb is the gateway through life. And darkness, and I'm saying this specifically to those who like to bleach their skin because they're not comfortable with their color, Quint. Darkness is the platform of creation. Because in all that they put in this book, Quint, the Spirit was in darkness when it said, let there be light. Now, the totality of creation is to procreate. Quint, I'm assuming that you're familiar with the scriptures to a certain extent where you can differentiate logic on what was written. Adam and Eve was created. Adam first, and Adam was placed to sleep, and then, according to what they wrote, Quint, Eve was taken from the rib of Adam. Now, if you go to Genesis 1, from verse 25 down, I think, where it says, God created male and female in his image and likeness. Now I'm only reading what they wrote because
Let me ask you this, Journey. Let me ask. Remember where you are because I want you to continue. But let me ask you this: are you aware that when it comes to the Adam and Eve story, as it is presented in the Bible, are you aware that that before Eve was created, there is another aspect to it? That before Eve was created, there was another woman created before Eve. Are you aware of that?
Well, I can't say I am because I mean just tell me where and how.
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave that there for now because it is, like I said, this thing is very, very deep. I have done some research and I have clips and that kind of stuff. You remember there were times when I would play clips that spoke to how the books of the Bible were picked out and people decided what would go into the canon, what we use today as the Bible. The Roman Catholic decided what would go into the canon. So it goes back to that. But I thought I'd ask you if you were aware of that, and you are not. So
What?
you can continue. In the future, I'll touch on those things.
Okay. What I am aware of, Quint, that Genesis 1 gave me a creation without detail in the sense that Genesis 1 tells me God created male and female in his image and likeness and blessed us and give us herbs for meat. Genesis 2 says Lord God created Adam. That is very profound, dear Quint. And as much as the Christian community is going to defend that by saying it is a symbolism, Genesis 1 didn't tell me that God spat on the ground or God was divine feminine, divine masculine, climaxed together and create male and female in his image. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Genesis 2 tell me God spat on the ground, makes up clay, and form Adam. Not even God, Lord God. We're dealing with medieval time here, Quint, because Genesis 2 creation was an experiment. We have to know who this Lord God was that spat and formed up Adam and then put Adam. Now, the Christian community don't even bother to say, well, if we're dealing with a highly intelligent God that's going to create all the animals, male and female, all the birds, male and female, fishes, insects, but when it comes to what represents him, according to what they wrote, Quint, that he forget, and then Genesis 3 says, and God said it's not good that the man should be alone, and the Christian community is okay with this?
But you see, that is because the Christian community, and this is what I enjoyed when I was a young boy coming up in the church, the Christian community felt good to just sit down and let a pastor, say things to them, and they just swallowed it whole. And back in those days, if you questioned the pastor about something, he would look at you with a stern face and he would say, "Don't you dare question the word of God. You will be doomed to everlasting fire."
You know why was that? That had to be. It had to be, Quint, because we were under the age of Pisces, the age of the fish, where we cannot question. We are now in the age of knowledge, information, and, ignorance is a choice for my African brothers and sisters in their Christian space. Ignorance is a choice, Quint, because the book is hinting to us. It says, what have been hidden from the wise and prudent are now being revealed to braves. What we have in today, Quint, we have in a spiritual awakening on the continent of Africa. France has been crippled right now. America is a wounded dog. But yet our people want to remain in Babylon. And that is why the book, I think it was Bob Marley said, many more is going to perish. Because of the misery that we have swallowed, Quint. Now, let me get back to darkness being the platform of creation. In order for anything to become manifest, Quint, we first have to have a thought. The Creator first had a thought when he said, "Come, let us make man." Now, when you ask who were he speaking to, and Quint, I'm not really gender-based in the creation, because the universe is consciousness that was in oneness, as I read this morning. We are talking about sacred knowledge, Quint. What I read out this morning of the consciousness was in one. They didn't have to choose. There was nothing to choose from. But the soul said, let me experience contrast. Duality became in divine feminine, divine masculine, when consciousness takes on the form of flesh. And all of this happened on the continent of Africa, where the 4 rivers that symbolize the heart of the human body that watered the earth in that space, and the 4 valves that is in each human body's heart that pump blood. Quint, there is so much symbolism to what is there that we cannot come to the finality of this sacred knowledge. And that is why I said, Quint, we are on a path of learning, and the earth is our classroom to remember. That is why I said, Quint, we cannot remember when we were born. The earth, we are here to remember to rise, because it wasn't one God spirit that descended. Now follow me on this quickly. In biology, when a man and a woman climax to procreate life, millions of sperm travel to enter the womb. And in that space, that environment is a very ferocious environment, the same as the spirit that came from the universe when they tell us God descend upon the face of the deep. But Quint, our people are in their space, and they would rubbish what I am saying because they have believed without question. All of that happened for the past 400 years, or how many years it was, when we were under the age of Pisces, the age of the fish, cruelty, wickedness. I mean, look at Jesus in the book. I come not to condemn the law, but through him the law should be fulfilled. Jesus didn't condemn the killing that was in the book. But the deity that they refer to as God is the very writers of the book, because the universe does not kill. The universe, the consciousness of the Creator is everlasting and eternal life. Now imagine an omnipresent God had to come down and call to Adam, and Adam, I heard your voice because I saw I was naked. Omnipresent of the Spirit of God is in earth, air, water, fire, the S-U-N, light, day and night. This is how God knows everything that is committed by man on this earth. Now you may ask the question then, how does God allow the wickedness that was destroyed in the flood to continue in this our present day and don't stretch out his hand? But that was the fallacy, because the writers of the book is the God themselves. And they put what they put in the book to justify their wickedness by giving us fear, false evidence appearing real. Print, I mean, who has ears to hear, let them hear. Because until you look within yourself, you would know that a female is a goddess and a male is a god. And the totality of creation is to procreate. We descend to ascend through birth. Spirit becomes flesh through birth. While we are on earth, we are to ascend, not descend. The Spirit descended already, but it was a one Spirit that they gave us as a God, because the civilization when Spirit became flesh was in Africa. And the linguistic of African didn't refer to what we now have as a God that was given to us in a book by Europeans. Are you following me, Quint?
Well, I'm trying to, but I'm also thinking that we've got to be careful as a people sometimes when we want to change the mindset of other people, how we present what we're bringing, because I can follow what you're saying, but for a lot of individuals who are not as widely read and so on and so forth, it can get kind of boring or dull. So this is why I tend to bring things over the way I bring them, in a way that everyone can understand, because in your expression and in a lot of other expressions, sometimes it is so deep and so hypothetical that it can pass over a lot of individuals' head. That is why I say to you, as I've said to Africa, when you're doing your research and you're going to bring it to the people, break it down in ways so that everybody can understand. Otherwise, people will kind of zone out. But I, for one, I hear what you're saying, though.
Quickly, Quint. Now, you see, it's a zeal and desire for me, for our people to be restored and be redeemed. Unlike Paul, who was zealous of the law, who was a murderer, I haven't murdered anyone. But my love for my people, Quint, it is a zeal and desire for us to be restored. Because we forgot. We forgot who we were. That's why, what I shared this morning with you, Quint, we are here to remember. Because once you're born into flesh, Quint, you are to ascend. And spirit comes to birth, to flesh to birth, and spirit goes back to the spiritual realm through death.
Okay, let me interject here, because it comes back to what I was just saying about clarity. So what does ascend mean?
Ascend. Ascend.
Yes. What does
Is that what you meant?
Ascend. Isn't that what you said? Ascend.
Yes. Okay, Quint, follow me. Genesis 1 in the beginning, what they wrote said that the Spirit of God descend upon the face of the deep, right?
Yes.
I am saying to you, when they gave us that it was a one character individual that they refer to as God.
Yes, I hear that, Journey. What I'm saying, I'm trying to make it more clear. So I asked you, what does ascend mean?
Okay, ascend means is to rise.
Okay.
To rise, because remember, earth is the footstool. And we are here because we are already descended. Through birth, we descend, and we live from a child to 12 to adolescent, and then we become the elder, and then we become an ancestor.
Okay, so follow me.
While we are here on earth, we are to ascend.
So follow me now, because this is what I mean when I say I want clarity. So what you're saying, and I understand, and this is why I want others, even a child, to understand. What you're saying, and I agree with you, the Spirit descended. We're here, and we are now to ascend, to rise. It does not only mean to rise, as you just expressed, in age, to get older, to become. It also means spiritually, and it means physically. It means to rise or to elevate oneself, both physically and in the knowledge that you gain as you advance forward in life.
Thank you, Quint.
That is so. Wait. So you understand what I'm saying? So when you come with things, break it down so that people can. Because when you just say ascend and descend, a young child might not grasp it. You understand?
Right. Thank you for that, Quint.
Yes.
And remember 3 weeks or so ago, I asked you if you ever asked yourself why you couldn't remember when you were born.
Yes.
No. What I shared this morning with you earlier on Island T, we can't remember when we were born. Right? So we are here on Earth, and Earth is a classroom for remembering. Because, Quint, once we activate our DNA, that kundalini that I said that religion demonized the snake. No, before I came across this, Quint, I always questioned in the book that the deity that they refer to as the serpent was in the garden. But the presence of God left Adam and Eve according to how they wrote it. I'm explaining to how they wrote it, Quint. Because God came back and called to Adam, and Adam hid himself. But it's clearly that the presence of God was not there with Adam and Eve. So Adam, after receiving from Eve what she ate, and again, remember, it's not a literal tree. The serpent, we never even knew it was a serpent until judgment was passed on it, because that deity that was in the garden shared knowledge with Eve. Then it begs the question, did God withhold knowledge from them? the Christian community going to defend it by saying God gave them enough for their survival. But that is a fallacy. Because again, Quint, we are looking at the writers who use colorful words and tell us that they were inspired by God. But when you look at the God in the book and the action of the writers, I'm referring to King James, his 32 nobles, and the whole of the Vatican and the Church of England, because most of our African brothers and sisters gravitate to a King James Bible. But we don't bother to look at these characters that captured us by telling us they are wholly inspired men. I mean, Quinn, there is so much things in that book that we have to just, Quinn, for the sake of some Christian, I'm not going to even say. No.
Let me ask you this though, again, for clarity. If, as you say, the earth is the teacher, we're going to learn from what is in the earth, right? If that is the case, why is it then that we find, and you also said, if we dig into our DNA, well, how can we do that when there's a certain race of people who are destroying the earth, one, and changing the food we eat to such an extent that it will influence our DNA? So if we're not too careful, hence somewhere down the line, we won't be able to tap into our original DNA because it has been reconstructed by the food that we eat over time, and not only the food, things polluting the atmosphere, so many different things that we are subject to in the time of our existence on earth. So how can we reach that level where we can ascend if the earth itself is being contaminated and tampered with?
I'll ask you one question, Quint. Do you think we are all the same? Do you think the black, the Caucasian, the Indian, do you think we are all the same as one human race?
Technically, yes, but then no.
Okay. Now, listen carefully, and I want to be brief to give others their time to come in. Now, the Bible speaks of mankind, humankind. Quint, you and I are creation itself. Others are created. And when they told us that Adam and Eve was created and Eve came from the rib of a woman, they were messing with DNA and splicing X and Y chromosome. Who are they? Who are they, Quint? Well, that is for our people to wake up and do their own research. Because the Bible that we have hides more than what it reveals. But to go further, Quint.
And I want you to wrap up soon because I want to take a commercial break.
Yeah. Who do you know on this planet that are always creating things in the lab? From weapons of destruction to vaccine and all of that. Who do you know? What race of people you know that do this? Okay?
I'll
let
answer.
that sink into our listeners.
Okay.
Let that sink into our listeners, Quint. Are you following me?
Yes.
No.
But I'll answer your question when you wrap up. After the commercial break, I'll answer your question to some extent, or I should say I will try to answer your question to some extent.
Fair enough, Quint. But when you look at the footprints of these people, Quint, who have polluted the earth, who have corrupted and turned the truth into a lie, then the answer is there, Quint. I'll pause for now, Quint, and let's hear what others have to say, and let us digest.
Okay. I'll take a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Ready to save while you build? Now you can at Builders Paradise. Yes, shoppers, build up your Value Club points at Builders Paradise. That's right, Value Club members and shoppers, your favorite frequent buyer club is now available at the home of hardware and more. Whether you're laying tiles, painting walls, replacing doors, upgrading windows, or fixing up your home, every purchase at Builders Paradise now earns you Value Club points. Enjoy exclusive benefits like discounts on thousands of items, special savings for seniors, instant deals, quarterly rebates, plus an extra up to 2% off every quarter. Shop more, save more, and more only at Builders Paradise. Don't miss out. Start building your rewards today with Value Club at Builders Paradise, because every bolt, board, and brush brings you closer to bigger, better savings. Terms and conditions apply.
Too often, customers are counted but not valued, like mere numbers, statistics, transactions. But at Flow, we're rewriting the rules and prioritizing you, our valued customers, who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim your $600 gift card when you add internet to your current postpaid plan, because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
And we're back. The time 7 minutes, sorry, moving away from the 11 o'clock hour. Now, to delve into what Journey was saying, and let me repeat again. When I was a child growing up, there are many things, many questions I asked. I asked of my parents, I asked of other grown-ups, and I asked of myself. I found that when I spoke to certain grown-ups, especially those associated with the church, even though I was a child, I was rebuffed. No one stopped to think that perhaps a child wants to learn to better understand so that he can expand knowledge in growth. The grown-ups I interacted with seem to have had the idea that no, this is what it is, and this is how I was told it, and this is how you must accept it. Don't question it, just accept it. Well, I could not adhere to that kind of belief, so I delved into trying to know. Now, Johnny just asked the question, who are experimenting with this, and I asked the question, how can we find answers if the answers are floating around somewhere in the atmosphere between this between this dimension and other dimensions? How do we find them when there are individuals who are tampering with things as they are, and even the very food that we eat? Now it comes down to this. As I've said before, Caucasians came from us, whether they want to accept it or not, and a lot of them are fast beginning to accept the knowledge that the understanding that they came from us. In other words, white people came from black people. Here's where the problem was created. There are certain schools of thought who said, when we as a black people realized that white or albinos were coming out of us, we ostracized them. There's that school of thought that says we, the black people, ostracized the albinos and they were forced to wander off. Now that is a whole other story in itself, because you would have to think about how did they wander off, who did they wander off with. There's a school of thought that says they did not just wander off alone. Some of them were cast off and their mothers and even their fathers moved with them. But those fathers and mothers were in the minority and the albinos were in the majority. Now, fast forward. These albinos wind up in a proximity of the earth and having been abandoned by us, the parent, It is like a parent abandoning a child. If you abandon the child is left to its own to fend on its own. That child will have a certain level of resentment because you abandoned, you the parent, abandoned the child. This is where the mistake was made. When we realized as a black people that the albinos came out of us, what we should have done is embrace them and let them incorporate themselves back into the fold. That school of thought that says we abandoned them, we ostracized them, we discarded them, and they found themselves in another proximity. They are full of animosity and resentment and so forth. And so this is what we have today. But what about this? Now that the albinos or the white race are beginning to understand that they came from us, Journey asks the question, and here's the answer. If something comes from you, then there's a part of you in it. That part of that came from you may not be as melanated as you are, but there's still a part of you. The problem or the mistake was, rather than that part of you that came from you being embraced back into you so that it can be revitalized, it was left out there on its own. And that part procreated without a blending back into the fold. So here you have albinos and they procreate. So you have albinos getting albinos and getting albinos. They cannot on their own be remelanated. For them to be remelanated, they would have to come back to the fold. So you see what I'm saying? We find ourselves in a very, very precautious point. I myself, as I've often said, I am attracted to only black women because I know from whence I came and I want that lineage to continue. But for those who are understanding where they came from, they have a yearning to come back into the fold. Some of them don't even understand the yearning. So the problem now is, how does this embrace take place? There's another aspect to it. There are many of those who are unmelanated or not melanated to the extent as us, and the darker the pigmentation, the more melanated, who are so filled with anger and hatred that a lot of them should not be incorporated because it will be like bringing a Judas into the fold. So like I said, we are in a precautious position. And only time, as it evolves, will give us answers. Because as I've said on numerous occasions, I am learning. There are many questions I ask, and I'm still to get the answers, and perhaps I won't. I don't think I'll get all the answers in this dimension.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good day.
Hello, good day. Peace to you, peace to our federation.
Yes.
I call in relation to the act that we were discussing this morning. Now, I read the act, and I think we're missing the point, where the act didn't specify Nevis only, but it specified the country, what it did say as well. So, when it pertains to Nevis, the Premier will deal with those matters. When it pertains to St. Kitts, at least then the federal government will deal with the federal matters.
Yes.
Because they're more concerned.
Well, before you go on, I want you to reiterate that point that you made where you said that the act did not just refer to Nevis alone. I want you to elaborate on that.
Okay, the act said anywhere throughout St. Kitts and Nevis, a special sustainable zone can be created. However, because but it mentioned Nevis, because whatever might be, I do not know. I'm not sure if you know, that might be proposed to the Nevis administration. It mentioned Nevis specifically, based on the Constitution, that you know, it's been said many times that Nevis, when it comes to the Constitution, when it comes to the land area, Nevis administration deals with that. But I just want us to be informed that the act that recently passed is for the federation. Anything, however, in the development of the lands for Nevis will be based on the Nevis Island administration and the Premier. And that aspect that deals with St. Kitts will be dealt with by the federal government and the federal parliament. Now, if you realize what is happening here, it's not just in Nevis that will be affected. Now we have an example with Christoph Harbour.
If you listen to when I speak on different occasions, I've said as much, and I also broke it down when people were saying, individuals said this is not a. They said they used words like this is not a. I'm looking for a controversial bill. This is not a controversial bill. That's one of the things they say, right? And I refer to the name of the bill. The name of the bill is Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill. And I said everything is in that name. And I also said it is rather intriguing that we're seeing over on Nevis something playing out that happened in Christoph Harbour. So I did say that before, but it's good to have you elucidate on that and remind us again that this is not just specific to Nevis, but incorporates the Federation.
Right, and that's what we have to be mindful of, is that many times I mention it, and other persons, we do not have a lot of land. And even in those big countries where they have these special economic zones, the emphasis are on local investors and local, if you want to say, tech persons. Yes, you will have one or two foreigners coming, but it's for their persons to develop something unique to them, for them, and so forth. As a small nation, I think we should be mindful of that, especially when we are ceding land. We could never get those land back so easily.
I agree.
And that is my main contention. The other contention, when you read the act, similar to the Christoph Harbour one, it's like, for a better word, giving like a country within a country.
Yes.
And if our laws are ceded for those things, we have to be careful, because when it boils down for maybe those persons who draft it to come and give the proper interpretation, but when you read it according to a dictionary meaning point of view and the act itself, yes, certain things to control dispute among the persons there is based on that area policy. What about our laws? So it seems as if our laws will be subservient. However, I believe and I know that there are certain things that can be repealed. But when we're looking at agreement as well, but however, the Constitution is the supreme law of our nation. And therefore, just like how a law could be passed, a law could be passed to repeal that law. Because we have to be mindful, it's a law. It's not just an agreement, it's a law. Mm-hmm. However, I must then say, just like with Warner Park, once upon a time, Warner Park, we have laws governing Warner Park. So these are what we are dealing with. But when it comes to feeding the judicial settlement of dispute to a specific area, we have to be careful. But when it deals about enforcement of security, we have to be mindful that what are we saying? Our police officers and all these persons might be restricted.
Not only
courthouse would have a.
Not only that, caller. Not only that, and I'm glad you're moving on this trajectory because it is very, very important. Here's a rub. Here's an issue, a big issue. When you bring in a small society like ours, we are what is the word again? We are a sovereign state. Okay. When you bring in our federation another state within our state, knowing that this state of St. Christopher and Nevis or St. Kitts and Nevis is small to begin with, it has limited resources for defense and that kind of stuff. This is why the rest of the world tends to deal with us the way they deal with us, because they know that we are sort of not in a position to defend ourselves against certain things. So why then knowing that we are in a compromising position because of our size and that we do not have security that can defend us, we will have to refer to somewhere else. Why then bring a state within a state and give them autonomy? Who will control what they do? We can't do that because, as you were just suggesting.
Can I say something, sir?
Go ahead.
You know what? It doesn't matter how small you are. Integrity and also knowing what one stands for. Principles.
But that is nonsense. Look, caller, with all due respect, caller.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Because we have to understand. It doesn't matter how small you are. As long as you have certain principles, there's certain things you will not accept and do. And that is what I'm saying, is that we have to look carefully. What do we really want for our country? However, sir, I just want to say, I will have to call back again. But I just want us to remember what I just said. And if you read the act, you realize it's not just me, but the entire federation. We are too small to have so many of these things going on in our country. Land souls cannot retain that easily. And I think we have enough local investors to encourage them to invest. We have enough talent here to encourage them to be talented and invest into some of these certain things. We can have and own everything in these areas, and the land does not have to be taken. Just like with Power Southwest, we could lease those lands. So I just want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. God bless thanks and Nevis. God bless Constituency 7. God bless of all of us. Peace with you. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. So let me continue in the vein of what, and this is with all due respect, this is utter nonsense. I hear you, and I agree with you. We must be cautious, but this is why we must not initiate these things in the first place. We can. So you're going to tell me that we're going to. I think if I follow what the caller was saying, and I hope I'm right, that he's saying, when he says this is why we must be cautious, he's also saying this is why we must not do this. Because when we go down that vein and you create a state within a small proximity like ours, you can say you have all the integrity and you have all the whatever other words he used and you know what you want. How will that defend you when you find yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? How would that defend you when you bring up... Now, let's look at a hypothetical. This proposed zone, these people are going to come here and they're saying that if you have an issue with them, you will have to go to a court in Miami to represent yourself. That's money, number one. So here they come, you allow them to come, set up shop in your proximity, but when you have a dispute with them, you have to go overseas to quell that dispute. That's number one. Number two, let's look at where that dispute is quelled. On the U.S. mainland. So you know what that is telling you? They are still affiliated, as much as they're in your proximity and they have autonomy within your proximity, they are still affiliated and associated with that superpower structure. So when they do things that are contrary to your laws, how will you defend yourself? You think all the good integrity and goodwill and knowing what you want is going to help you? When they say to Mama America, look, your citizens down here are going through a thing and we have a problem and we need your assistance. What are we going to do to defend ourselves? And what other Caribbean island or country is going to come to our defense when we initiated this on our own? We better be careful, you know. Be careful what you not only wish for, but what you indulge in. Because as I said this morning, and I'm going to reiterate, it is quite strange that this special sustainability zone authorization bill, we have not heard anywhere so far where a zone is being made so that local farmers can do farming so that they can feed us. So you're not empowering your people, but you're empowering external individuals who, within your area, they have autonomy from your laws, but they are still linked with America or Europe. So when a problem happens down here, who will they lean to and who will we lean to? Think about that as I take a bit of a commercial break, and I'll be right back.
Found the South 98.9.
Ready to save while you build? Now you can at Builders Paradise. Yes, shoppers, build up your Value Club points at Builders Paradise. That's right, Value Club members and shoppers, your favorite frequent buyer club is now available at the home of hardware and more. Whether you're laying tiles, painting walls, replacing doors, upgrading windows, or fixing up your home, every purchase at Builders Paradise now earns you Value Club points. Enjoy exclusive benefits like discounts on thousands of items, special savings for seniors, instant deals, quarterly rebates, plus an extra up to 2% off every quarter. Shop more, save more, earn more, only at Builders Paradise. Don't miss out. Start building your rewards today with Value Club at Builders Paradise, because every bolt, board, and brush brings you closer to bigger, better savings. Terms and conditions apply.
Too often, customers are counted but not valued, like mere numbers, statistics, transactions. But at Flow, we're rewriting the rules and prioritizing you, our valued customers, who have been with us through every milestone, every moment. That's why we're putting our money where your loyalty is. Flow customers claim your $600 gift card when you add internet to your current postpaid plan. Because loyalty isn't a one-way street. At Flow, loyalty flows both ways.
And I'm back with you, and the time is 27 minutes moving away from the 11 o'clock hour. So, before the bit of a commercial break, I gave you some things to ponder. And here's what it wounds up being. Individuals who are in leadership positions in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis had better be mindful of what they do in terms of garnering wealth for whomever, right? If you think about garnering wealth for yourself and your family at the expense of the long-term survival of your people and your country, it's going to have disastrous repercussions. It's going to have the kind of repercussions that we cannot turn back. So individuals need not think about, oh, well, you know, this is an initiative where my family can make some good amount of money and, no. Hello, caller.
Hi, good morning, Quinn.
Good day, Africa.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. A little agitated because depending on the discussion, I tend to get a little heated,
Yeah. Sometimes that happens to me too. Especially when I'm in the studio. I'm getting there. Not to get closer to the mic because it will, the sensitivity and the like.
Yeah.
Something interesting that would tie into the discussion that your last caller called in on is that, and for the fact that our Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Joe, is the leader, the chairperson of CARICOM, because that position was given to him probably in the last sitting of CARICOM. So he has the chairmanship of that body. But besides that, I'm trying to make a case here because entities of such, like what the bill, and everything is within the bill. The name of the bill speaks volume.
Yeah.
Special sustainability zone authorization.
The only word I have a problem with in there is sustainability, because my question is sustainability for whom?
Yes. And so, right here within the regions, we have long enjoyed peace and tranquility. And emanating from the so-called Cold War and the crisis, the Cuban crisis with missiles, Russian missiles, probably was in Cuba, within the vicinity of the United States. And after that crisis was resolved, the Caribbean was declared a zone of peace and tranquility until, as of late, when another crisis has occurred where it has been alleged that there are American warships and also a nuclear submarine, a nuclear submarine. And so the CARICOM, ECLAC, it's a group of body in with South Central and the Caribbean. It comes on an acronym, but nonetheless, they have made a statement to say that the Caribbean is such, and as such, we want the Caribbean to reflect that the zone of peace and non-nuclear area, zone, as we're speaking about zone. But one of those who is a part of the Americas, the big brother to the north, is who seems to be is the violator as of the allegation that the warships are here and so forth, under the pretext that they're trying to intercept narcotics going to the north. That is about a bit of a stretch, because we have had interception, we have had coast guards and the like. And in fact, there's an ongoing training, within the regions and so forth. We do it probably annually, where we rotate islands to assume the responsibility, where these guys will come together and do such for interception of narcotics and so forth, going north, mainly north, because that is where the demands are in the north. And so the supply and demand, once you demand something, the supplier is going to provide that demand in whatever portion. Even though it is said in the Pacific up to the United States West Coast is where that the demand is much heaviest. It's more, in demand that way. So that they have declared, what it is. But are we hearing, or if anyone has privy to what the United States might have replied to what this body has put out there for the Caribbean nationals and the Central and Southern American nationals to glean from
Africa.
And
there's been a reply. Look, this comes down and this feed into what I was just speaking about. When you bring people into your zone who are more powerful than you, what you think is going to happen? How can you bring people into your space and give them power when they are more powerful than you, and their associates are more powerful than you, and you're going to give them autonomy? So to answer your question, yes, I played a clip that showed that the islands and the countries in this region that make up the zone of peace, most of them, with the exemption of 3 who did not make a comment, that's Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, and
Jamaica and Guyana.
Those 3. All of the rest are saying we want our zone of peace to remain a zone of peace. Now, this comes back to my question of why bring people into your.
Hold your thought just a minute. I just tuned in and I did not know, but I'm read vast, and I would glean and see these things and would save them for an appropriate conversation of such. Continue.
Yes. So why would you bring people into when we, as we stand today? Let's use Guyana as an example. Guyana recently gave contracts to, I think it's Exxon or whatever their name are, to deal with oil. I felt
ExxonMobil.
Yes, I felt that Guyana should have bided its time and start to do bids, right? You have to learn to be diplomatic. Yes, you have America right there on your back door or on your front door, however you want to term it, and you got to be very cautious as to how you do things. But don't run to things, don't jump to things. Play things out just the way how they play things out with you. Well, okay, you've discovered oil. Well, we're going to see who can give us the best offers that can bring sustainability. That's one. But when you have a superpower like the United States of America, you ask the question in terms of what would be the reply. They don't have to reply. They don't have to give you a written reply. They don't have to give you a verbal reply because they are superpower. What they do is they just blow up another ship, blow up another boat. That is your answer. Your answer is we have no respect for what you say. We are in a position to do what we want, and yet still we want to bring those people into our zone of peace and give them autonomy in our proximity. We must be very diplomatic. Yes, we know the stakes. We know who we are dealing with, but stop rushing to things.
And diplomacy is our weakness when it comes to the high and the mighty.
Yeah.
We don't go there as equals, and we need to go there as equals. And as the pushback might be, they say we will get heated at times, and as the pushback might be, this is where your diplomatic know-how and
savvy.
Will come in and be diplomat when diplomacy is called for. To be there and to go there as equals. And don't go there as if you're the weaker vessel, and then you're already gone there with that sort of mindset, and it's been played out. At the very first sentence, you just fall for it.
Yeah, and if it is that you want to intercept, how is it that you're not intercepting? How is it that rather than getting some people, and this is where people must understand where propaganda comes and plays a big part. What we're hearing is a lot of rhetoric and a lot of propaganda from the United States perspective. They push out something out there. They don't give you any merit. They don't give you any facts because they don't feel they have to. So they just throw propaganda out there and then they act on it. So you throw the propaganda out there, and rather than, because you know it's propaganda and there's no validity to it, rather than intercepting a ship and saying, well, see here, we have them. Here's Mr. So and so, and you see what we caught from him? No, you don't do that because you know it's just propaganda you throw out there. So you just go destroying things, and we're so gullible that we don't ask you the question and say, but why are you destroying these things? Why don't you bring them as evidence so you can validate what you're putting out there to us? But our leaders don't seem to be thinking along that vein.
No, they don't, because I tell you what, some of our leaders, our leaders don't see the nation as their first line of defense. Had our leaders seen the nation as their first line of defense, when our leaders are being bullied, in which they are being bullied, they will first come to the nation. And in their diplomacy, if they need to use diplomacy or whatever, because when they're on the campaign trail, they go the extra mile to try to convince you to vote for them. So whatever it takes, diplomacy or colloquial, you say what you have to say to the nation so that the nation will better understand what you're saying, that, hey, guys, we are being bullied, and we are telling you because you are the first line of defense, and you are the people. And the voices of the people is who will stand. And they will get our support. But they don't tell us anything when they're being bullied. So they come back home, they lap their tail between their legs, and they suck it up. Expect us to be sucking it up too. So when, a few of us who will talk, speak out, like myself, being vocal, you will hear you're against the status quo. No, we're not against the status quo. But when leaders don't stand up, like how Nanny in Jamaica stood up, like how Queen Asante was stood up. Women, who stood up and said, no, if you guys gonna fail us, we're gonna take the mantle forward. So we know that our leaders are being bullied, but they need to come and tell us that we don't want to do these things for the national security, and we're being asked to do it, so that we can get involved and defend in amicable ways.
But but Africa, if the region will realize, and this has been from so far back, there have been certain leaders who have been trying to guide them along a path of unity, and up to now they can't unify in a way that whenever one says something, everybody else. You notice those three countries that aren't making a statement: Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, and Guyana. They are the three countries that are to do with oil and those kind of stuff.
Not only that, Quinn, it's a good point. Not only that, but when the decision was made, probably in 1952, with the West Indian Federation, let's take it back there, and the math equation was made, one from 10 leave north was made. People doesn't really learn. People really doesn't learn, right? It has its own challenge because Trinidad is far south, and they would be affected by narcotics and other illicit things coming across the South American border into their zone and so forth. But other peoples, other nations, whether we are in between or far north or far south or west, east or west, we have our own challenges in our own way. And for the good of unity and so, you just don't side. You're siding with, it is alleged that Trinidad is more siding with the U.S. So what are you telling the other CARICOM grouping members? That it is okay to have alleged nuclear weapons in the area after we enjoyed 2-3 decades or less or more of peace, a zone of peace? So you're going to be silent now?
And Africa, remember the atrocities that happened in Guantanamo Bay, by the same U.S.
Yes, and then some other allegations, because if any one of these CARICOM member states would even open the barn door to accept what is being alleged otherwise, because there are other allegations out there that we are watching, and because some information is not forthcoming from, the investigative journalists out there, we're doing our own little scrutinization and our own forensic investigation into these allegations. Where? Because you give them an inch, they're going to take a yard.
And in terms of, let's go back to the oil prospect. Trinidad and Tobago was at one point, they were very braggadocious in terms of oil. And all these years down the line, what has it really done for the masses of the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Don't people realize that what happened in Trinidad and Tobago and what will happen in Guyana is what has been happening, what happened in the Caribbean, and what happened in Africa, where they take out all of the wealth and we get back a smattering and we don't get anywhere? It is alleged that Jamaica, there's a lot of prospecting going on for oil, and it is alleged that Jamaica might be the next one who is oil rich. So you find these three countries, and they're not stating where they stand. And this is the problem that we have where people are able to fragment us because we do not seem to understand the relevance of unison, of unity.
And yes, and you would think with all of the influence of those other bigger territories, because of, by far, yes, their population is larger than ours. and they reach, and because of migration, and we do welcome migration within our sisters and brothers, but say one, say two, you would think that Jamaica, with all of Jamaica's history and Jamaica's culture, the music that sends a message, you would have thought that Jamaica would have played a more frontal role. And even when, okay, in the political spheres, even when Barbados went into a republic, and you would have thought that Jamaica would have even played that political aspect to say, well, Jamaica has been on the forefront of resistance after Haiti, let's say. And for how Jamaica has been like procrastinating, logo is like one step forward, two step backwards, you know. All of these things that we in the smaller territories, I'm not so much influenced by, apart from the conscious music of Jamaica, because a lot of Jamaican national comes here, and they like to sell Jamaica as if, well, you know, I should just pack up and go to Jamaica. But I don't buy that. I don't buy it from them. No disrespect to my Jamaican sisters and brothers, but I get that impression time and time and time repeatedly from Jamaicans.
Let me defend them to some extent. Where one thing I love about Jamaicans, and not only when they come here, but wherever you see, you can be in Alaska, and you hear of a Jamaican cafeteria in Alaska, and you put the mic in front of that person's face, and you know it's a Jamaican, right? They are proud of their country. They are proud of who they are. Those are the people. It's the leadership that is the problem, Africa.
I get that. But
and it's the leadership
Jamaica is no better than no other place else. And I don't think it like that, because I know where my roots is. And therefore, when I have Caribbean conversation, I have Caribbean conversation on a real balanced level, seeing all of my sisters and brothers as equals, and as if I'm not pushing think it's more so than any other island, because each island has its own uniqueness, and each island has its own contribution to make.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But at the same,
I get an overwhelming action aspect about when I having conversation with Jamaicans more so than any other Caribbean national. I have lived with Jamaicans in the U.S. area, and I know that. And it's no other time. I never budge for their conversation and never buy into it.
And I say again, Africa. I hear you, but I say again, I don't see a problem in Jamaicans feeling proud of who they are and saying, I'm a Jamaican, I'm proud of it. And because let's face it, a lot of those Jamaicans, they go other places in the world so that they can get money to advance and maybe send back home to their families. And if they can, go back home and live. We do it when we go abroad. So I am saying the same way, if I go somewhere, I'm proud to be a Kittian. I'm going to say I'm a Kittian, and they're going to hear it when I speak. I don't have a problem with that. It is the leadership it is our leaderships that are creating the problems. Because here's where I'm going to agree with you wholeheartedly. We know the history of Jamaicans. We know the music that comes from Jamaica, that came from Jamaica, because a lot of it, to a great extent, is being washed down now with this new generation. But listen to what comes out of Jamaica by way of its history and its music, and look at what has happened to Jamaica, where the majority of the beach line and all that kind of stuff, even Jamaicans can't go there. Who's to blame for that? Because their leaders go in there and pamper to foreign interests and foreigners. And our leaders do the same.
We who know that in these little smaller islands should always be on the vanguard to defend as not allowing this to happen to us, that what has happened to other islands. And we know that these things are happening. And that is why you want to hear my voice when it comes to matters of that special authorization, sustainability authorization zone.
Now, you said earlier, you made a statement earlier, and I'm going to try to expand on it. You said when you make certain statements, people think that you're against the, oh, well, you know, you're against the system and so on and so forth. It is not so much so. Here's it. I'm going to venture to say this. Prime Minister, Jew is the Prime Minister presently. I don't think Africa nor myself want to see Jew fail. If you want to see your leaders fail, it is like saying you don't want to see your country advance. It is like saying you don't want to see youths succeed. No, we do not want to see him fail. But what we also want is that he wakes up to what is happening around him, that he steps into the shoes of leadership. It seems to us, it seems to me, that even though Jew is in the seat of being prime minister, I'm seeing too much that reminds us of a former prime minister who took us into the land for debt. I'm seeing too much of that. Case as an example, Christoph Harbour. I saw the documents that were shown to me by, what's his name again? Dwyer Astafan, right? Dwyer showed me the documents. I saw them with my own eyes. I can't remember in detail, but I remember seeing things that said they had authority to this, they had authority. When we had a problem, if our government had a problem, that document did not say, if you have a problem, it's gonna go to the cabinet. No, that document said if you have a problem, you refer to whatever board or association deals with Christoph Harbour. And at the end of that document, Dwyer can tell you, at the end of that and that is why Dwyer was, I mean, people say a lot of things, and I hear sometimes Sylvine jump on Dwyer's case. We all have our flaws. And sometimes we make mistakes. We realize mistakes when we're already in the fire. And we say, wow, how do I jump out of this? Maybe that was the case with Dwyer. He jumped out. And at the end of that document was the signature of Denzel Douglas. And now we're seeing too much that reminds us of Denzel Douglas. So here's what we're saying. When the people went and decided they did not want Denzel Douglas as the leader, it was for a reason. We do not want you, Jew, to be in the position of leader, and we're seeing too much that reminds us of Denzel Douglas. The people made a decision. They did not want him in that leadership position. If you are in the leadership position, let us. So what I am saying in a nutshell is, Jew, you may have made mistakes. You're a human being. Look at yourself, do an introspection of yourself, and start to try to make amends. We're not saying, we don't know if you'll be reelected in the next election. We're not saying yea or nay. What we're saying, start doing things that we as a people can look and see, no, now we're seeing things that are different from what we saw before. Now we're seeing things that come from people like we can say Jew and Congress and the Minister of Tourism and so on and so forth. We are seeing things that says these young people are making changes. That is what we want to see. We're seeing too much that reminds us of the old. Go ahead, Africa.
Yes, and you know what would have really, really be good? After that blunder with the Christoph Harbour, and the of performance in terms of their timeline, where the project should have been, in terms of the rollout and the development, the potential development. After a 12 years and some sort of signatory, some sort of signing, be it just the Christoph Harbor Marina, or be it the entire project zone, which entails all of the land, some sort of signing would have had to have taken place to renew some sort of a contract, if it was partial or not. That occurred a few months ago. And the general public don't know. I can only speculate, and my speculation is going to run wild.
Yeah.
And no one can prevent me speculating the way I would speculate, because I don't have privy to the new contract that was signed, be it only the marina or other lands. But it seems like there's a new company came in and took over.
Yeah.
And we, the general public, don't know. What would have been good for the Joe administration was to sanitize some of that.
Yeah, I agree.
If not all, some of it.
Hold a minute there. We have another caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to make a last statement on here as you close out your show. And I want to concur with you, Quint, this morning with your contributions. We got to get leaders that's going to do different and better than their predecessors. Because when they're on the campaign trail, they're criticizing the incumbent government, yet they go in and do the same and worse. That paradigm, that status quo got to change. And straight directly to the Prime Minister, as he has gone past midterm, I am asking him to retrospect and try to make changes and adjustments where so needed to benefit the people. And I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot, man. You guys have a good day.
Yeah, same to you. So Africa, you can also wind up.
Yes, basically, with new contracts, with new signatories, I think the sanitization process should have started there. For now, we're only speculating.
Yeah.
And the Joe administration have to prove me wrong in terms of my speculation.
And like
I
you
don't
said,
think anything has happened.
And like you said, I know certain people cringe, and I hear Mark Brantley and I hear the Attorney General saying things about how we are speculating and how we're making assumptions. But as you said, and I agree with you, we have the liberty to make assumptions and speculate, because you must bring us the facts. Until you bring us the facts, we will assume and speculate.
As a self-taught person, as a person who uses wit and logic, those guys who is under the purview of their PhDs and all of that, I come with common sense. So when they make statements and I call in and I interject and I rebut their statements with logic, I have no other choice but to use logic, because I'm looking at things from a natural perspective. What I see, the birds, the bees, the trees, my environment, and what just doesn't make any sense. If I don't have the document in front of me, and I know what it was, according to what Mr. Dwyer Astafan came to the general public and disclosed, he was very instrumental in disclosing things of like how could they have gotten access to what distance in the seawater, the roadstead, part of the seawater would have been in their zone. So even the local fisher folks would be told not to fish there, and these things here. These are the things that we knew, we heard about, but not really by reading the document, but by a good citizen coming and who read the document and would disclose it to the general public so that we will be more affair with what the document entails.
Yeah.
This is the common sense logic that I come with to the fore.
Yeah.
And I will always come like this. Irrespective of what administration, it beyond administration. It is because of as a national of this land, and we know what land is to the people all over. People fighting for land, tooth and nails, all over the world.
Yeah,
So why not us?
people who have massive amount of land are fighting to keep it and hold on to it, and we who have a minimum amount of land want to give it away. Anyway, we're into the news time right about now.
Thanks for listening. Yes.
Okay, so that is how we're gonna have to end things for today. But before I go, let me say this. I heard by one of our callers that recently Dr. Timothy Harris has made a statement. But I would say to Dr. Timothy Harris, we want you to go into the House, you and Sean, who are still elected representative. You might be, you don't have a big party behind you, but you are elected representative, and we want to hear you in the parliament and see you in the parliament. And when these things come up in the parliament, we want you to vent on them in the parliament. I remember Liel Limor, even after he lost, he would go into the parliament and he would point out certain things. We've heard over time that people who lost would go into parliament and point out certain things. It is your job. The onus is on you. You are the ones who know what we do not know. You are the ones who can give, directives, who can give clarity to certain things that we do not understand. And we are begging you, go into the parliament and do what you were elected to do. Represent us, the people. It is now time for the news.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by The Grain.